Hi, my name is Brian Stephen Adams from the Knightime project and welcome to my channel. If you make music using a DAW, you'll no doubt be familiar with that sense of frustration you feel as you sit there staring at a blank project trying your hardest to come up with a new musical idea, but nothing springs to mind. Musical writer's block is something that affects all composers from time to time and is nothing new. We've all experienced it at some point in our musical journey. There are many suggested ways of overcoming musical writer's block. Some of these include pushing or powering through a piece you're working on, distracting yourself for a period of time by taking a break and doing something else while your creative mind works away in the background, using compositional aids such as reference books or video tutorials, using samples or even scrolling through your VST presets to help inspire you. Now, I use some of those techniques when writer's block strikes, some more than others. However, for me, one of the most effective ways by far to overcome musical writer's block is to actually listen to more music. Does that sound like I'm stating the obvious? Well, I guess in some respects I am stating the obvious, but bear with me for a minute. There's just a little more I need to add to that statement for you to fully understand what I mean. So let's start again. For me, one of the most effective ways to overcome musical writer's block is to actively listen to more music, analyze compositional structure, deconstruct and reconstruct music I really like in my DAW and use those structures as templates to form a foundation to build on for when writer's block strikes. Now, on the face of it, that statement sounds rather simple, but it's easier said than done, so let's break it down. What did I mean when I said actively listen to more music? What is active listening anyway? The dictionary definition of the word passive means accepting or allowing what happens to happen without active response. In a nutshell, when you're passively listening to music, you're not really paying too much attention to it. Usually it will be in the background, so you might be tapping your feet to the rhythm, you might be humming the melody, you might have a rough general idea of what you're listening to, but you're not really giving it anything more than maybe 30 to 40% of your attention. Now, as you would expect, the word active is the complete opposite. Active means to be engaged in or being in action. So when you actively listen to music, you're making yourself aware of anything from 60 to 80% of what you're listening to. Now, this could include the tempo, the key of the piece, its musical structure, the individual elements used, where in the audio spectrum the instruments are placed, and that list goes on. Now, you can actively listen to music on monitors or a portable speaker, but for me, I found that the best way of actively listening to music really is on a good set of headphones and without any external distractions. Now, active listening is a skill, and as with any skill, it takes practice. With practice, you can respond to what you're actively listening to by making detailed notes about what it is you're actually hearing. Okay, without getting too deep, let's just touch on compositional structure for a moment. Now, when I was doing my research for this video, I made a list of what I think are the core concepts of a musical piece of work. And they can be loosely based on 6 characteristics, these being, and not necessarily in this order, melody, lyrics, harmony, rhythm, structure, and arrangement. Analysing the compositional structure of a piece of music using active listening allows you to understand elements such as what the melody is and where it's placed in the arrangement, what type of chord structure underpins the composition, what types of instruments were used, the rhythmic nature of the piece, including what percussion was used and where, the type of sound effects used and their placement within the track, what the bass is doing and how it interacts with the other low-end elements, how the track starts and ends, the story the piece of music is trying to tell, and the list goes on. So if you can learn how to actively listen to music, if you can learn how to analyze compositional structure, learn how to deconstruct and reconstruct music graphically in your DAW in order to create templates, then with other compositional aids and techniques, you can use those templates as foundations to build on for when writer's block strikes. You see, each piece of music, regardless of whether it's in the same genre or not, whether you think it sounds the same as another piece of music, essentially has its own DNA in terms of instrumentation, musical arrangement, and structure. What you want to do is you want to learn from the piece you're listening to, extract that DNA, and along with the other musical aids, use it as the basis for a new composition. Using this method can help you compose a new piece of music from a perspective you may not have even thought about. It can help you break through musical muscle memory. You know, when you go for the same chord progression and the same kind of musical feel that you automatically hone in on when you start composing. You can reverse the concept of the template and give your new piece a completely different mood than the original reference. You can have 2 or 3 tracks in the same DAW project as points of reference to form your template. You can even mix genres. There's no hard and fast to using this method as another tool to help you break through musical writer's block. Now, this is a method I've been using for years to help my creative process whenever I'm stuck for an idea, and it's a method that I'd like to share with you. Now, before we move on, I just need to make something very clear. I'm not musically trained. In other words, I got CSE grade 1 in secondary school in music, but I didn't study music at college or university, and I haven't taken any courses. However, I know some music theory, I can sight read a little bit, and I have some understanding of the technicalities surrounding composition. But 80 to 90% of the music that I make is actually based on ear training. This means that the walkthroughs I'll be sharing with you won't be based on traditional music theory. So there won't be any technical jargon or complicated music terminology to get your head around. But it is important that you know the basics of what underpins music. For example, how harmony, melody, and rhythm connect and work together, as well as some other basic concepts such as how chords are structured and sequenced together, inversions, etc. Now, what I'll be discussing is essentially rudimentary transcription, but in a basic graphical form that shouldn't be complicated and should be relatively easy to understand. In the next video, I'll show you how I put this technique into practice. I'll show you how I break down and reconstruct graphically a reference track, which will be a piece of music that I've heard and like in terms of its song structure. The reference will be deleted, and I'll work from the new template in about a few months, which will give just enough time for the reference to be out of my head so I can approach using the template with a fresh pair of ears. Then I'll be uploading detailed walkthroughs of me composing new music using templates I've already put together, sharing with you the entire creative process from start to finish. And to help you get started, I'll also be sharing those graphical templates with you too. I anticipate that the walkthroughs will actually be quite long, as it can take me anywhere from 17 to 30 hours to write a new piece of music, even using a template. So because of this, each track will be presented as a season of around 14 to 20 deep dive video walkthroughs. The videos will each be around 10 to 15 minutes in length, and the season will run for roughly 1 month. Initially, the genre I'm going to be focused on will be hybrid orchestral instrumental composition, but by no means will this be the only genre I'll be looking at. It's just the one that I've decided to start with. Now, in case you're wondering, this technique is cross-compatible with any form of music composition. Any form of music can be compositionally analysed using this method to help overcome musical writer's block. If this is something you'd like to learn more about and you're new to this channel, then please consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell so you'll know when the series starts. Until then, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you soon.